Welcome in. Day 127. 127 straight days of new Clippers talk content for you. I'm Adam Osland. Whether you're listening to this now at Clippers Talk OT on the podcast side, because, traditionally we put the post game audio, the typical post game show, that's just Clippers Talk on the podcast side. But all this extra content that I've been doing on YouTube now has a place in podcast form, and it is Clippers Talk OT. Search for that and whatever you use to podcast with. If you're watching at Clippers Talk on the YouTube side, appreciate you guys. Mio first in here. Let's effing go, he says. I got a lot to get to before the big game, so I might be with you for the next hour at least. There's a lot of sound to review. I thought there was a comment. What's up, Max Vega? Best name ever. There was a comment post game from Kawhi Leonard last night that raised an eyebrow with me. We'll bring you that audio. We have a lot of audio to sort through. We're going to start in chronological order with the Lawrence Frank presser yesterday, his annual trade deadline State of the Clippers Union, the Gettysburg Address, as he called it. I think he talked for the first 10 minutes straight. Then he took questions. Love L. Frank. He's kind of, I don't know. He's an inspiration of mine. Like, I love this front office, the logic, the rationale they use. You can criticize certain stuff. Nobody's perfect. But overall, they have put this team in a good position time and time again. Nobody's perfect. No front office is above reproach, of course. But they are operating with Spock-like logic and rationale. So, Six Ab says, hey. Adarius is in here. Let's go Clippers. We are picking up some good players. Holo Dolo's in here. Watching our bench lineups has me excited. What Ben could do for our team. His playmaking when Harden sits is much needed. Yeah, Ben Simmons could clear waivers, I believe, tomorrow, and that could become official. It's not official at this point. It's just reported. Law Murray had it. He was talking about this possibility before anyone. So I want to show him some love. But we're going to start with Lawrence Frank audio. Then we'll get to my pregame question to Coach Lou. Then we'll hear from Coach Lou postgame about Kawhi. Then we'll hear from Kawhi postgame. And then we'll hear from Bogi postgame, who is officially a Clipper and will be playing on Wednesday, or he says he's available and ready to go for Wednesday's game against the Memphis Grizzlies. Good to be with you guys. Please subscribe, like. It helps. Hit that alarm bell or notification button so you know whenever I'm going live here. All right. As I said, we're going to start things off with Lawrence Frank. When I play this audio, just let me know if you can hear it, and we'll get things underway. This is Lawrence Frank pre-game yesterday, coming out, speaking with the media as he always does after the trade deadline, giving you the state of the Clippers, fielding some questions. And first of all, he's talking about expectations coming into this season, where they're at, and how that affected their mindset during the trade deadline.
I know probably externally people were surprised. In terms of the process, we really weren't surprised. How the record comes out, yeah, like if someone would have said.
He's talking about, them out kicking their coverage or being right now 6 games over 500. And I think they were 4 games over 500 before Kawhi Leonard returned, and how many people externally outside of the organization were surprised by this, because obviously a lot of people said, they'll be 12th in the West, a bottom 4 team in the Western Conference. So he's speaking to that here, and then he ties it into what that meant for them at the trade deadline and how they operated.
At the time, we were 5, 6, 7 games over 500 before Kawhi there. Yeah, that's surprising. That's unbelievable credit to our players and our coaching staff. In terms of how does that impact the trade deadline, it just shows you, okay, where there's some needs. Like we knew we had a lot of wings. We had a surplus of wings. We also knew.
Just hit me up if you guys can hear this sound and know the Lakers couldn't jump in and steal Ben Simmons because they're over the first apron. And if you're over the first apron, you can't bring in a guy who was making more than the mid-level exception. Ben Simmons was making $40 million before he was bought out. But let me know if you guys are hearing this.
That, that shooting's a premium in this league. And when we watch our team and you see how teams are playing us now, it's no secret. We're dealing with a lot of, even last year, we saw where big wings would pick up full court. So we wanted to add some secondary ball handling and playmaking,
Bogi.
along with shooting. We wanted to get a little bit different look at the backup five. So it just became
Eubanks.
clearer. And now the thing is, it's great to have those objectives, but you have to be really fortunate that they have to come together. So, the goal is each and every year, we are always going to be as competitive as we possibly can be. I mean, that's the vision of Steve, and that's our job to carry it out. Yet at the same time, we always have to position the franchise to not only be as good as you can possibly each year, but also to have a very, very bright future.
So this is the balancing act they've been trying to do. Be as competitive as possible every year while not sacrificing your future. So in future years, you're able to do the same thing and be as competitive as possible.
As we possibly can be. Each and every year, we are always going to be as competitive as we possibly can be. I mean, that's the vision of Steve, and that's our job to carry it out. Yet at the same time, we always have to position the franchise to not only be as good as you can possibly each year, but also to have a very, very bright future. So it's a delicate, tightrope that you have to walk. And, we feel up to this point that the group has shown that we are a very good team. That I think when we're at our best, we can compete with anyone. And I think our long-term future is bright as well.
So now I think he's about to take questions. Or no, that was the first question. That was from Lauren Rosen. She'll be on with us pregame on Wednesday when the Clippers taking on Memphis at Intuit Dome. But now I believe Joey Lynn's about to ask a question from SI Now.
Lawrence, you actually answered a bit of my question.
Joey Lynn is phenomenal, by the way. He is, I'm not just saying this because he's a Biola grad like me. I text him every once in a while because his questions are so precise, articulate, well thought out. He is just an absolute stud. Joey Lynn, show him love.
And there at the end, but really since the transition from Lob City, you guys have been in that unique space where you have been remaining competitive, but also having a lot of changeover as well. It does feel like the moves that you made this deadline had a bit of that vision in mind, where you're improving the team for the time being, but then also creating some additional financial flexibility going forward. Just how challenging is that to navigate? And also, is it correct to assume that is part of the focus when you are making moves like the ones that you guys made?
Listen to that. Listen to that elocution. Just so well put with that question, Joey Lynn.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. And it's similar type playbook. We had a little bit different asset base at the time, but of 2017 and 2018. And it's just, some franchise they're okay bottoming out. That's just starting from the top. That's just not how we're going to do. We want to get.
Listen to that again. Some franchises are okay with bottoming out. That's not what the Clippers and Steve Ballmer are okay with.
And it's just, some franchise they're okay bottoming out. That's just starting from the top. That's just not how we're going to do. We want to give our fans the best product each and every year. So it's a challenge. Now the key is, like anything, is especially with where we're at, is we don't have, a lot of draft capital. So we have to do it through, trades that work for both sides. We have to do it through internal development. We have to do it through future planning, through free agency. We have a great deal of faith that this will be an unbelievable and has been an unbelievable free agent destination, because it starts with treating your current players great. Those guys are the priority, not future potential Clippers. It's treat your own guys the best, and then that message will carry throughout the league.
Smart tactic.
But we are caretakers for this organization, and we have to make sure that there is, responsibility, and there's also a future as you're trying to maximize the present. And so when you look at
a future while you're trying to maximize the present, that is the mandate that they've been tasked with. A future, a bright future, while you're trying to maximize the present. That is the high wire act they are doing.
And we have to make sure that there is, responsibility, and there's also a future as you're trying to maximize the present. And so when you look at having Steve as the chairman, this building is the ultimate manifestation of his commitment to make this the ultimate destination for players, their families and staff and their families. Having an elite head coach in T. Lue, having great players like James and Kawhi and our other guys. Those are great selling points. And the city of Los Angeles is a tremendous place where players love to be. So yeah, it's a balancing act, but one that's an honor and privilege to be a part of.
Love L. Frank there. Love that answer. Great question by Joey Lynn. We'll move along here. Lawrence Frank yesterday spoke with the media post trade deadline, as he does every year.
Hello. No, you guys can't exactly just make
La Murray here.
moves in a vacuum. There's 30 teams in this league. Some of them have made some really loud moves over the last week. So where do you, as a executive on
La alluding to the Lakers' big move for Luka,
one of those 30 teams, kind of look at how the moves like Luka and AD and Fox Santo, like where do you guys kind of look at that and kind of how do y'all stay focused on what y'all have to do even when everybody else is making what seems to be on paper, more extraordinary things happen?
Yeah. And I think the one is you always have to run your own race, and you have to focus on yourselves. We have a history of making some loud moves, but you can't make a loud move every single year. It's like impossible. So what you have to do is build your team intentionally. In 2019, we made a loud move. It borderline was an earthquake.
Lawrence Frank having some fun there because there was an earthquake that night. And again, for Lawrence Frank haters, it's like for the shortcomings of the 2-1-3 era, it didn't come down to them not putting the right pieces together. It came down to things outside of their control with injuries that took away the opportunity to win a championship with Kawhi and PG. On the floor, they were great together. I believe they were going to win in 2021. Kawhi tears his ACL. That's out of Lawrence Frank's control. So if you want to hold people accountable and say, oh, look, what has he done? No. There's nothing Lawrence Frank could do about that. When you have an opportunity to get two guys like that, you do it. The fact that it's become even more difficult with the CBA and guys are more easily retained as the NBA wants parity and restricted free agents. You can keep a guy for about 7 years when you draft him. It's hard to bring in guys that talented in their prime. They did it. They swung. They missed because of injuries. Every GM and front office in the history of basketball would have made that move. Kawhi was coming off of winning Finals MVP. Paul George was just top 3 in regular season MVP. You do it every time. Nobody said SGA had MVP potential. They said all-star potential at the time. So the revisionist history regarding Lawrence Frank in the front office, it falls on deaf ears with me because I know where I was when it happened. And I know everybody said, yeah, it stinks losing SGA, but you have to do it. You have to do it. I mean, if they get another shot to bring in 2 guys in a couple of years from now when they're going to have a ton of money freed up that are at that level, they'll do it again because it's a good process. It was the right move. It doesn't always work out. If it didn't work out because of on-the-court issues and they just couldn't play with one another and stylistically it didn't work, that would be one thing. It didn't work out because of injuries. That's it. You can't control that stuff.
We made a loud move last year with James, but it's not about the loud moves. It's about building a team that's sustainable. And we feel really good that we improved our team on the margins, which is very, very important. Plus,
with Bogi, with Eubanks, with Patty Mills,
we went into this year thinking our trade deadline acquisition was going to be Kawhi Leonard. And
this is interesting. And Law brought this up too on Twitter recently, and I felt the same way. But everybody's talking about the big move the Lakers made, others have made. The big move for the Clippers is getting Kawhi back. And they got to get him back to playing at an all-NBA level. And that's what a lot of this show is going to focus on. Appreciate the super chat here from Wethy Key DGS saying Kawhi is slowly knocking the rust off. Glad more playing time. Ben Simmons is another top defender that can check LeBron, KD, or other tall scorers. Still have Kawhi, Derek Jones Jr., and Chris Dunn defensively. They do. They're a top 2 defense in the league for a reason, and really appreciate the support here.
We feel really good that we improved our team on the margins, which is very, very important. Plus, we went into this year thinking our trade deadline acquisition was going to be Kawhi Leonard.
You hear that? Our trade deadline acquisition was going to be Kawhi Leonard. You're 4 games over 500, I believe, is where they were at before he returned. You're in good shape.
And we didn't have to, it wasn't a trade. He was coming, and we didn't have to remove any of our current players. So we thought going in, like, that will be our trade deadline acquisition. But that wasn't enough. We also had to address some different position and skill set needs. And, we feel really good about the guys that we added.
Quickly with this question, because Lawrence Frank's talking about, we feel good about the guys that we added. Somebody's saying, could they put Bogdanovic in the starting lineup over Derek Jones Jr.? Hell no. Their starting lineup numbers have been elite. Their starting lineup net rating has been incredible so far. They're not going to do that unless somebody's banged up. But if everybody's healthy, the starting lineup, I think, is pretty secure right now. They have been top tier.
So it's not necessarily about the loud bang every year. I think you study the league and you learn and you see. But, those aren't an every year type deal.
Lawrence, I know that you guys sent out 5, brought in 4, so that opens up a roster spot for you guys, obviously. And I know you guys like Jordan, but how do you guys kind of address, given that we haven't seen Kawhi at full strength, minutes-wise and everything, what you guys are looking for or what's missing with this team, given that you guys have that spot open?
Yeah. Again, I think, you just look at what are some of our needs. We've been really, really fortunate.
They can't ask about Ben Simmons because nothing is official yet. Lawrence Frank already talked about pregame yesterday in this very interview that there's still stuff they can do. And everybody interpreted that as, well, that's the Ben Simmons move that is coming. That hasn't been reported by the Clippers. That is La Murray. That is Shams.
This team, given that you guys have that spot open.
Yeah. Again, I think, you just look at what are some of our needs. We've been really, really fortunate, as you guys know, in the buyout market. You look at, Nico, you look at Reggie Jackson.
2 guys I brought up the other day when talking about bringing in Ben Simmons when I was doing the live from my car on the way to the gym. They've had some good success with guys that they've been able to kind of rehabilitate their careers with. Guys that were afterthoughts. Everybody thought Batum was done. Everybody thought Reggie Jackson was done. They weren't.
You look at Russ. Those guys, had a huge impact. Typically buyouts, when you study them, the history of buyouts, there's not a huge impact of it. And so we're very fortunate that we've always been a destination for buyout guys. Guys love playing for T-Lou. They've fallen in love with the franchise. So we'll look at the buyout market and see how we can address some additional needs that we have. We talked about Jordan. We'll continue to work through that. And, your team always kind of tells you what they need. And so you're constantly looking for improvement. You hope for it, that it's internal improvement. But if there's someone on the outside that provides something that our other 14 guys don't provide, then we'll add that.
Lawrence, you mentioned earlier about Bogi that you've looked at all the possessions that he's had this year, and you kind of could boil it down sometimes. Hopefully it is just poor shooting luck in terms of him because of his track record in the NBA. When looking at data, when looking at possessions, how do you guys kind of weigh that at a trade deadline, with a minute time frame to evaluate and try to kind of assess how a guy could potentially fit in with the team when you do look at the data, and then you have to cross-reference that with the eyes and kind of weigh everything in general?
Yeah, well, your preparation starts months in advance. So
Great question here by Justin Russo.
basically all your video work, all your analytical work, it's done, months ago. Like the reports, it's not that all of a sudden we decided on Thursday to trade for Bogdan. We're well versed in his game, watched all, we've studied his career, and just, I mean, his Olympics was tremendous. And so what you're doing is, okay, why was he shooting a low percentage? And you watch every single possession, you figure out, okay, is there anything different in what he's doing? Is he having a harder time getting it off? Is there anything physically that's impacting him? Is he getting his shots in different situations? And so much when you're taking one NBA player from one team to another, it's contextual scouting, because one guy may be great in one system and struggle in another, or vice versa. And I think with the way that T. Lue plays and Bogi's game, I think it's going to be a really, really good fit.
So, guys, for those who just go, well, he's only shooting 30% on the season. Did you look at that? It's like, it's slightly more complex.
We've always loved his DNA. He is a tough ass competitor. I love those international competitions, but I also love what he's done in the NBA and just his adjustment, because he came in the NBA as a 25-year-old. He was older. Took him a couple years to kind of figure out like the NBA game. And it's always, I've seen with virtually for the most part, every special player in Europe, it takes at least a year just to get. The NBA game's totally different. The culture's different. So yeah, like for us, we're very, very confident that as long as he stays healthy, that he's gonna be a very positive contributor for us. Have a good one, guys. Thanks.
All right, there was Lawrence Frank yesterday pregame. Coming up, we're going to hear from Kawhi Leonard postgame. We're going to hear from Bogi. We're going to hear from Coach Lue. But I first want to bring you Coach Lue pregame. We're doing this in chronological order. I teased this out last night on the postgame show, after the Clippers won by 20, but it was closer than that against Utah. It wasn't the most impressive performance by your Los Angeles Clippers. They did have, 70 points in the paint, though, or 72. They had a crazy number there, but Utah, they have been playing better in some ways, and they have gotten some wins, but they weren't playing, Colin Sexton. They weren't playing Markkanen. They weren't playing John Collins. I wasn't overly impressed, but Jordan Clarkson did start off super hot. The Clippers kind of weathered the storm of three-pointers, and they found a way to play their best later in the ballgame. So it's not nothing, and they had to get that victory. It's basically an early season must-win. But here's pregame. Me, as I've been monitoring the situation with Kawhi, is the last 4 games now, going back to last night's game, he just hasn't looked right. He looks gassed. He looks really tired out there. And it could be as simple as this, guys. They played 9 games the last 18 days. They have played every other day. Kawhi has played all of those games. While that's been happening, his minutes have increased. So it makes sense that his body is adjusting to all this. But I wanted to ask Coach Lue pregame about Kawhi and his conditioning. Coach, what have you seen with Kawhi in terms of his minutes? Obviously, they ramped up a little bit last game. He played heavier minutes in the fourth quarter specifically. When it comes to his cardio and what you're looking for with that progress out there, playing heavier minutes, are you seeing him progress at the rate that you're expecting right now? Not a loaded or leading question, but I did ask him, are you seeing him progress at the rate that you're looking for right now with him? I think it's an appropriate question. I'll play it one more time.
Decent at some things, but we're just not great in time to practice.
Coach, what have you seen with Kawhi in terms of his minutes? Obviously, they ramped up a little bit last game. He played heavier minutes in the fourth quarter specifically. When it comes to his cardio and what you're looking for with that progress out there, playing heavier minutes, are you seeing him progress at the rate that you're expecting right now? So for everyone that's like, oh, he's just talking on YouTube and on the podcast side, and, he's not going to ask Coach Lue. He's not going to try to really get to the bottom of it. I'm asking the question here. I did a show. What day was this now? Friday with Eric Pincus, where the last 20 minutes I just talked about Kawhi Leonard. I got him on Kawhi watch. I'm monitoring him. Something's not looking right. He looks really gassed out there. And so I thought I would ask the question to Coach Lue, right? Who better to ask it to? You could ask Kawhi, but I don't know if he's going to admit to anything. He's a tough-minded player.
When it comes to his cardio and what you're looking for with that progress out there, playing heavier minutes, are you seeing him progress at the rate that you're expecting right now?
I think more so just the speed of the game, I think, is one thing. But like you said, I've seen him get tired a few times, throughout the course of the game. And that's going to happen when you play against a team that's the fastest in the league as far as pushing the basketball. And then he was bringing the ball up a lot, which he was getting pressure full court, having to, go against their defense. And so I thought he got a little tired, a little worn down. So the biggest thing is going to be his conditioning.
So that's him pregame yesterday. So talking about how Kawhi looked against the Pacers on Thursday night, the biggest thing is going to be his conditioning. Then last night, he plays 31 minutes against the Utah Jazz. He still looked gassed out there. He looked tired from the get-go. But I'm not seeing a hitch in his giddy-up, or however you want to put it. He's not dragging his right leg around. He's fluid in his movement. He's just moving slower. And he looked like he was trying to catch his breath a lot. I think the most likely answer, if you're trying to deduce it is just he's played every other day the last 18 days. They've played 9 games the last 18 days. He's played in all of them. And while that's been happening, his minutes have been going up. So his body has to compensate. It's not there yet. Matt Matawarren tweeted something interesting to me last night. Matt, we'll get to that. I want to ask you about what you saw. Don't put it in here yet, but I do want to get to that in a little bit. And maybe you could repost what you told me in a little bit more detail when you tweet at Follow Adam May, because I think that was something I wanted to touch upon after the post-game audio I heard from Kawhi Leonard. So there was Coach Lou pregame about it. I asked the question, guys. I have had concerns. I asked the question. Fair enough. Here was Coach Lou postgame. Now Joey Lynn is going to ask him more about Kawhi and how he looks out there.
Go from there.
Any update on Drew?
So what?
Any update on Drew?
Kawhi obviously a little uncharacteristic. So Kawhi obviously a little uncharacteristic with the turnovers. Does it feel like a case where his progress isn't linear when it comes to a guy who's been out as long as he has been, is working his way back?
Yeah, I mean, just timing. I think.
So you said timing to me. He said timing again post game to Joey Lynn here when it comes to how Kawhi's looking.
Spacing. A lot of things has to do with it, but the most important thing probably just timing. The game is going fast, and we play some fast teams, and they're coming to double team them. They're shrinking the floor. So just take a look at our spacing and see where we can attack and be more efficient. So a lot of that's on me.
A lot of that's on me, he says. Take a look at our spacing. The timing isn't quite there yet. Seems like they're kind of searching for a reason too. He said that there's a lot. There's a lot of different reasons. But 10 points last night, and he only took 9 shots. Kawhi took just 9 shots. He played 31 minutes. Ivica Zubac was cooking. There were other guys. These games are going to happen even when Kawhi is playing 35 minutes. But then I heard something post-game that I found really interesting. And I was a little bit, I don't know, I raised an eyebrow to something Kawhi Leonard said here. And I think some other people picked up on this too. Here's Kawhi post-game in the locker room. Because, first of all, Matt Matawarren, and I don't want to read too much into this, and I didn't see it, but Matt Matawarren said he was there at Into a Dome of Talking Shit podcast with Brandon Marcus. Matt Matawarren was at the game, and he said Kawhi walked through the intros before the crowd could even cheer and then bounced the huddle. I don't remember that being the case in games I've seen before. Is everything okay? Vibes check, please. at Matt Warren on X. So we're reading body language. I don't want to put too much into it. But then when I heard this post-game from Kawhi in the locker room, and he looked frustrated during the game. He wasn't getting calls. He wasn't getting to his spots. He looked tired. And he wasn't even looking for the basketball to start the third quarter. I'd have to go through the tape. I'm sure there was a time or two he brought the ball up. But when they were running their offense to start the second half, I was expecting, okay, Kawhi slow start. He's going to turn it on. I don't know if he touched the basketball the first 4 minutes of the third quarter in their half-court set. He wasn't being aggressive at all. Now, maybe he was just deferring because he knew he was tired, although they just came out of halftime. He just had a break. He was being too unselfish. I don't know. But then, between what Matt Warren said here about the vibes check, and Kawhi walked through the intros before the crowd could even cheer and then bounce to the huddle. I don't remember that being the case in games I've seen before. Is everything okay? Vibes check, please. Then I heard this post game, and it just raised a little bit of an eyebrow. I don't know. I'm not putting everything into it. Kawhi is very blunt, straightforward, deadpan. You know his delivery. But just listen to this.
Years ago, we'll be here. But have them here, and, we reflect back on different stories.
Here we go. He's talking about Patty Mills there being a teammate again. This is the question I'm looking for.
How are you guys balancing? Zoo had a big game today after a bit of a didn't score much last game. How are you guys balancing the kind of all the mouths you guys have to feed with you, Jane, Norm, Zoo?
Tomer Azarli asking him, how are you balancing all the mouths you have to feed with you, James, Norm, Zoo? Listen to this.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Jane, Norm, Zoo.
I don't know. They've been doing it all year, so I'm just stepping in and trying to figure it out myself.
I don't know. They've been doing it all year, so I'm just stepping in and trying to figure it out myself. That's not nothing to me.
How are you guys balancing the kind of all the mouths you guys have to feed with you, Jane, Norm, Zoo?
I don't know. They've been doing it all year, so I'm just stepping in and trying to figure it out myself.
I commented as F says this over the last couple of days that he's not getting it on the elbow much. Go to work, Kawhi mid-range. Is that intentional? To keep the offense moving and for him not to disrupt the flow, even though they're like 10 points better per 100 possessions when he's on the floor offensively. Is this something or nothing?
Bit of a didn't score much last game. How are you guys balancing the kind of all the mouths you guys have to feed with you, Jane, Norm, Zoo?
I don't know. They've been doing it all year, so I'm just stepping in and trying to figure it out myself.
They've been doing it all year. I'm just stepping in and trying to figure it out myself. It could mean just that. There's no subtext to it. There's nothing to read into. It's Kawhi. But I don't know is a little bit interesting after you're 13 games in with him. And it seemed to be better, trending the right direction earlier. Now it's going the other way with him being involved offensively and being aggressive and assertive. Just something to watch as we go along. More from Kawhi postgame.
Speaking about that, do you feel at times like maybe not?
So Justin Russo is going to follow up after Tomer asked the question first, his buddy. This is good reporting.
Cognizant of it, but like you don't want to step on their toes at times because of what they have done throughout the season.
Do you hear that? He's asking, speaking of that, are you cognizant of the fact that you don't want to step on their toes?
Speaking about that, do you feel at times like maybe not cognizant of it, but like you don't want to step on their toes at times because of what they have done throughout the season?
Kawhi says not at all. It's not something he's thinking about.
No.
So it's, for you, it's basically just plug and play, same as it was?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm just out there playing and seeing when I could get my shots or when I could be aggressive. I don't feel no way about stepping on muddy toes. It's not like we're the number one seed or something.
I'm not thinking about not stepping on anyone's toes. It's not like we're the number 1 seed or something. Because if we're the number 1 seed, basically, I'm interpreting that as, well, I don't want to disrupt the flow. But the truth is they haven't been great offensively, and he's only helped them there. So why would he worry about stepping on toes when he is strengthening their offense right now?
I could get my shots hard, when I could be aggressive. I don't feel no way about stepping on muddy toes. It's not like we're the number 1 seed or something.
You'll be tuning in.
I think that's fair. He shouldn't be worried about that. He's Kawhi Leonard. They need him. They're going to go as far as he takes them. That's the entire point of putting this under a microscope. I'm not trying to ignore the game and what happened last night, but there are bigger things at hand. If they're going to make noise and make a run in the Western Conference, Kawhi has to look right. And he's looked worse the last 4 games than he did the first 9 games. Again, he's been playing every other day. That could easily account for this. He just came back. They had that crazy 6-game and 9-night stretch. Obviously didn't play all those games, but the last 9 games have been played within 18 days. Day on, day off, day on, day off. Kawhi has played all those games, 9 straight. While the minutes have been going up. I can't stress that enough. I can't stress it enough because that is easily what this could be.
And Norman, the 3-point contest?
Yeah, I'll watch that, and I'll watch James in the All-Star game.
So there's kind of a vibes check. Tomer Azarli asked him about, you going to watch Norman in the 3-point contest? He said, yeah, I'll watch that, and I'll watch James in the All-Star game.
It's not like we're the number 1 seed or something.
Oh, now I went back to that.
You'll be tuning into Norman, the 3-point contest?
Yeah, I'll watch that, and I'll watch James in the All-Star game.
Thanks, Kawhi.
Thanks, Kawhi.
Now, there's something else that plays after here.
I mean, Saquon been playing great.
I think they're asking him about the Super Bowl. He said Saquon been playing great. And then Kawhi jokes because the cameras are still on. Listen to this, because I may use this as my sign-off for each episode coming up.
I mean, Saquon been playing great. Off the air.
Puts his hand up in front of the cameras there. Like, oh, you guys are still rolling?
Off the air. Oh, damn.
He says, "Got GD," and he starts laughing afterwards. You get a Kawhi laugh in there. So maybe all is well, because that is funny.
Saquon been playing great. Off the air. Oh, damn.
I might have to use that for my sign-off from now on. Off the air. My sign-off here on Clippers Talk. All right, so there was Kawhi Leonard. Kind of mixed with the vibes check. Like, it's understandable to be frustrated. The guy took 9 shots. He wasn't being very aggressive. It wasn't coming easy for him. It hasn't the last 4 games. He has looked tired. That could be all it is. I don't want to think there's anything going on in the locker room more than that. I just wanted to report what Matt Warren saw and say, yeah, I'm monitoring Kawhi on the court. I'm monitoring everything. We're on top of it here on Clippers Talk. All of this, has to be looked at when you had just lost 3 games in a row, when they're not playing the way we're accustomed to see them play. I'm just trying to get to the bottom of it. That's all. And I don't want to overly scrutinize anything or read too much into something that I shouldn't. So I'm trying to be delicate about this and just say, okay, here's what we heard. What could this mean? But it could also mean this. It's all evidence, but nothing definitive, I would say. Now, the last 8 games now, the Clippers are 14th defensively. So they did jump up, because the last 7 games going into last night, where they had really been struggling, they were 19th on the defensive end. So they did improve their defensive rating, because I've been watching, guys, the last 8 games, teams have been shooting now 39% against the Clippers like Utah did last night. That's been the biggest difference in their defensive rating being worse. It's just teams shooting much better from the outside. So is that about them not being locked in? Is it fluky shooting? Is it bad perimeter defense? Don't know. Watching it, I think some of this is definitely a low energy defensive effort at times. And I think that's what Coach Lue got frustrated about recently. See, other people are reporting on or saying that Bunit said Clippers content on Twitter told me the players in the locker room don't like Kawhi. I'm just not going there. Guys have always liked Kawhi. Overall, that's never been an issue. So I'm not going to flip that around after a game or after some interesting post-game quotes. But I'm going to need to gather more evidence before I come to any conclusions like that. You know, it would take a lot for me to go there based upon what we have seen from Kawhi in his tenure as a Clipper. Like, the only issue he's ever had with teammates was Tony Parker, who made that comment, "Oh, well, I came back from an injury faster." It was ridiculous. And that was, almost a damn decade ago. All right. Now, let's hear from your newest Clipper, officially, Bogdanovic, Bogi Ball. He spoke with the media post-game for the first time and obviously didn't play yesterday, but we'll hear more about his progress as this was him speaking with reporters post-game after the Clippers' 130-110 victory last night over the Utah Jazz.
Being in this building for the first time, saw you out there warming up. I'm sure you got a chance to see some of those. Yeah, first time with the Clippers, sorry. Just seeing these facilities and being on this side, what are your impressions of getting this building?
When I got traded here, I was talking, as I said, with my family. And when I talked to my dad, I said, "Hey, Dad, you can't find a better place for me. Right now, I love to get in work. I like to stay in the gym. Just the also medical stuff and the team of people that works here, it's just amazing. They welcome me with, it's crazy. I never seen it, and it's probably one of the best organizations in the league."
Listen to that. Listen to his praise for the Clippers organization. This goes back to what Lawrence Frank said earlier pregame, talking about how you got to treat your own players the right way before you worry about who you're trying to get in free agency and woo to come here. This is about creating the right environment and business model and how you treat your employees. And Bogi is taken aback. And he's only been here a couple days. Remember, he was in Sacramento, then Atlanta. There was a brief stop maybe in Milwaukee. I don't think he ever even got there for an introductory press conference because that trade was nixed. But yeah, this is really cool to see how far the Clippers have come here with their culture. This is all Steve Ballmer. I say it all the time, but if ownership is the biggest advantage in sports, and the Clippers were at a disadvantage for over 40 years with Donald Sterling. They've only been, in some ways, a real legitimate franchise because of Steve Ballmer over the last decade now. Before that, you had a guy actively working against the best interest of the fans and the organization. So it's great to hear that from Bogdanovic, recognizing just what a special place this franchise has become.
The also medical stuff and the team of people that works here, it's just amazing. They welcome me with, it's crazy. I never seen it, and it's probably one of the best organizations in the league.
Okay, so we got some true sleuths here. Chris H., hearing what Matt Warren said about the intros and Kawhi, and did he bounce the huddle early? He said no. He just watched the intros again, and he is saying, I saw he walked through the intro early, but don't see him bouncing the huddle. This is good work. We got to cross-check one another. This is why I said, I don't know if that's true. Matt Warren reported it. Matt, we got to do better, man. No, I'm just kidding. Of course, I'm watching the Super Bowl. More from Bogi.
One more question. So also, when you play with Serbia, with Jokic, obviously, what's the difference between international play for you and then playing the NBA, fit in the role.
This is a great question from BJ Matthews of the Pull Up Podcast. Difference between international ball and NBA.
One more question. So also, when you play with Serbia with Jokic, obviously, what's the difference between international play for you and then playing the NBA, fit in the role?
First of all, rules are different. Like simple stuff like that. Even like today, I talked with Betty. Free throws, let's say, you get checked in after the second free throw, so it slows the game down. Here, you checked in after between free throws, right?
Yeah.
So that slows the game, right? So then other stuff, timeouts. You can call timeouts on live plays. So it's a different game. I always say it's been a different game, and but other than a couple of rules, you still have got to make shots, make the right plays, make the right reads. So bring toughness everywhere. That's what everyone asking, and that's it.
Bogi, Justin Russo, nice to meet you. Trae Young said that you actually went to his house to say goodbye to his son after the trade happened.
This is the other side of being traded. The human side, we just act like, oh, it's part of the business, no big deal. No, guys have relationships. It is a big deal. Justin Russo asked a great question here too.
The human element of being traded, most people don't think of it. How tough is that to deal with in season, what you had to go through being traded?
Like he said, with some guys you get closer, your family gets closer. His family, when I came there, especially my sister.
Talking about Trae Young.
And his wife, they got together and they help us a lot, adjusting over there. So somebody like me coming to the new city, that helps you a lot. You feel like you're part of family, and it's going, a long way. So he was there before he even had kids. So once he had it, I'm seeing that guy growing up. So we're all humans, right? So it's tough. It was tough to see it, but I have to do what I have to do. I have to go to his house, see his kids again, and tell him that we're going to see each other again. It's life.
And if I can, because you did play with Trae for so many years, are there similarities, obviously playing with James, that you're going to get to be able to do? Do you see any similarities in being able to fit in around James because you did play alongside Trae?
Similarities between Trae Young and James Harden. This is good.
Yeah, for sure. That helps a lot, as I said. James is more experienced and older, but for sure Trae sees him as a role model too. So they kind of play a similar way. I can see how James throwing passes, and how he reads the game. He's 2 steps ahead. And as I said, that for the shooter, if the ball is coming to you and you have that little gap of the space more, it's timing of the pass. That's what separates them from others.
Okay, you're obviously going to be entrusted with, you talked about not just being a scorer, playmaker as well, but this second unit, you're going to be entrusted with a lot of playmaking duties as well. Because I'm questioning, how have the previous stops you've had in Sacramento, Atlanta, and how have that kind of prepared you and improved your playmaking, how you've kind of developed in that area? Because everyone knows you can score the ball.
Yeah, every year is different. Every year is different. Every time you have different challenges. But I'm only looking forward, and this is a new team, new opportunity for me. And I just think now I'm playing with more experienced guys. I didn't have a chance. It was always with the younger team, kind of. So I'm excited to play with the experienced team and the team that are fighting for championship.
Fun. Yeah. Look, you've been leader of board on Twitter for a while. What's the story behind that, and how you feel about it all these years later?
10 years ago, or I don't know when did I open Twitter, 12. I play a lot of video games. I play World of Warcraft, so I'm a huge fan of World of Warcraft. I don't play it as much now. I don't have time. But me and my friend, we were like, what would be my nickname? And we tried to record. It worked. So that's how I got it.
So Bogdanovic's Twitter handle is leader of Horde, and it's in reference to World of Warcraft. Wow. He used to play it a lot when he had more time. He also mentioned that he's healthy and good. at the beginning of the interview, and he'd been dealing with some personal stuff, and that's why he's been out as of late, and hence the reconditioning going on, and that's why he didn't play yesterday. So now we move forward. We move forward to this.
You know I love LeBron. I've talked about him incessantly for a decade. I still think he is absolutely remarkable. But for the first time,
Wait.
you know I love LeBron.
Wait.
I've talked about him incessantly for a decade. I still think he is absolutely remarkable. But for the first time in 10 to 12 years, I look at the NBA, which I've watched for 4 decades, and I say this now with Ben Simmons. Hey, LeBron, we're good, bro. You can go. You don't have to. You can hang around. Still great, but you can go. We're all good here. I never bought into it with Blake Griffin.
Oh my God. Is Colin going to be self-deprecating about that or just completely ignore it? He'll probably ignore it. It is an all-time bad take. But pretty funny to play now if Ben Simmons signs with the Clippers tomorrow, and reportedly will be, according to La Murray of The Athletic. I can't believe this happened.
You know I love LeBron. I've talked about him incessantly for a decade. I still think he is absolutely remarkable.
Thanks.
But for
What year was this? Like 2016? He's about to come back down 3-1. Does anybody know the year? Let me see. What year was Ben Simmons drafted? Let's put this together. So I'm not seeing the date on this. So he's drafted, 2016, doesn't play his rookie year.
First time in 10 to 12 years, I look at the NBA, which I've watched for 4 decades, and I say this now with Ben Simmons. Hey, LeBron.
I like how he puts his resume out there. I've watched it for 4 decades. I have credibility.
I look at the NBA, which
Before saying this,
I've watched for 4 decades, and I say this now with Ben Simmons. Hey, LeBron. We're good, bro. You can go. You don't have to. You can hang around. Still great, but you can go.
maybe somebody should tell that to Colin. Hey, Colin.
This now with Ben Simmons.
We're good,
Hey,
bro.
LeBron. We're good, bro. You can go. You don't have to. You can hang around. Still great, but you can go. We're all good here. I never bought.
We're all good here. Wow. That is shockingly stupid, but not really. If you follow, what's the account? It's like Art Funhouse or something like that. They're always going after who's the main guy from New York? Back after this. At back after this, AFTATHIS. I would highly recommend following that person that goes after Mike Francesa a lot, but also Colin Cowherd for all his bad takes. Shockingly stupid takes. Like, yeah, it's just this is an all-timer, and he's never going to hear the end of it. Now, can Ben Simmons help the Clippers? I think this really comes down to, can Coach Lou put him in the best spots to help the Clippers? I think there is a path, and it's really about him playing small ball 5. That's how we can help the Clippers. Because if you have a 5 that can't shoot, and he can't, not his strength, not what he does, it's much easier to hide that guy than a guard like Russell Westbrook who can't shoot. I know Russ is working out with Jokic. Jokic apparently can make anything work. I think that's the one team, the one guy that it would work with, because Russ is an all-time Hall of Famer. He's a great player, but In today's NBA, as Don McClain will tell you, if you can't shoot, you can't play. And generally, of course, that is true. There are certain guys that can transcend, that have a skill set that's so unique, they can make it work. And because Nikola Jokic is a stretch big, it's fine. People are saying he can be our version of Draymond. That's probably aspirational. But, I see the similarities in very, very small ways. He's not Draymond. Let's be honest about this. Kobe Brown has not turned out to be Draymond either. I know that was the archetype for him. Thought he really defensively last night. Got beat a couple different times by Deontay George, but did go 3 of 3. I think Ben Simmons is the small ball 5, bringing the ball up the floor. Yes, like Draymond can at times. And first of all, Draymond has actually had seasons where he shot it well from 3. But defending, the versatility he has there. The question is, will he buy in, and will Coach Lou slot him as the small ball 5? Or are they going to try him with a big out there in Ivica Zubac or Eubanks? I hope not. I don't think that will be successful. I think then you are falling into the trap of having to play 4-on-5 on offense, where they're just going to leave him wide open. And unless he's cutting to the basket in the dunker spot, how is he helping you if the ball's not in his hands? That's what I worry about. Thank you, Osman. Appreciate the super chat. I think it's 3 issues. Clause fatigued, and there's no pecking order, and Clause too unselfish at times. I think non-Kawhi fans don't understand he doesn't ball hog. Yes, it's kind of a blessing and a curse. Kawhi won't force it. If he doesn't have it, he usually won't force it. He won't. I think it's overall a positive because most superstars would just shoot you out of it. He will rely on his teammates if he doesn't have it. There are times where I think he just has to shoot himself out of a funk. And I was thinking about what happened last season with Kawhi before we get back to Ben Simmons. And the game before he turned a corner, I believe, I'm going to double check the game log right here, but I believe the game before he turned a corner and went on a historic run with his efficiency over a 30-game stretch. He set the all-time efficiency record, shooting 57, 51, 92 splits. It was the loss to the Denver Nuggets where they had nobody. They had Reggie Jackson and DeAndre Jordan beat the Clippers at Crypto. He took 26 shots in that game. He was only 10 of 26. He did try to force a little bit. He did try to will them to victory at the end. And he got up 26 shots. The very next game is when the efficiency streak started. He went 14 of 18 up in Sacramento and had that dunk on JaVale McGee and had 34 and went 14 of 18. Next game, 9 of 17. Next game, 9 of 16, 8 of 16, 14 of 23, 11 of 19, 11 of 14, 9 of 16, 12 of 16, 12 of 18, 12 of 22, 10 of 19, 9 of 16, 7 of 15. Okay, 6 of 17, 8 of 15, 10 of 18, 10 of 16. Does he need to shoot himself out of this? Maybe. Maybe he needs one where he just empties the clip. But he also had a training camp last year heading into that game. Or heading into the season, I should say. And he still started the season relatively slow for his standards. And wasn't as efficient. And then he put up 26 shots in one of the worst losses of the 2-1-3 era to Denver at home when they didn't have Jokic, they didn't have anybody. And from then on, he went on that scoring spree. Does he have the win to get up 26 shots right now, though? I'm going to closely be monitoring Kawhi after 3 days off against Memphis. That is the game I need to see something. Now, the good news is going back to Ben Simmons. Hold on. Let's reset.
I love
Let's
LeBron.
reset.
But for the first time in 10 to 12 years, I look at the NBA, which I've watched for 4 decades, and I say this now with Ben Simmons. Hey, LeBron, we're good, bro.
The fact that he says, bro, we're good, bro. I'm sorry. That's so douchey.
You can go. You don't have to. You can hang around. Still great, but you can go. We're all good here.
I'll say this. I've met Colin Cowherd before. He's nice. He talks to the staff. Like he seems like a good guy. It's a hot take business. This is what you have to do to survive, apparently. I'm hoping there's a hot take bubble. This was just an all-timer. Bad moment. Maybe he will address it on Monday. So, people are talking about Ben Simmons. That guy Spencer said Ben can't shoot. He's gotta get it back in terms of mid-range and get back to his draft and early days playing style. He can't play like that anymore, guys. He's had the back injuries. He's not the athlete he was. Part of the reason that Colin Cowherd said this is because he was a great athlete coming out of LSU.
Hey, LeBron, we're good, bro.
That's part of the reason. Jonathan, I already said that. Don't steal my ass. I already said maybe somebody should say that to Colin Cowherd. We're good, bro. We can move on now. No, it's whatever. It's the business. It's unfortunate. I just know what Ben Simmons does have is he's still a solid defender. He's not a Class A all-defensive team guy. And he can still get up enough. He's still explosive enough. He's a good ball handler. He still hasn't lost any of his vision with his passing. And if he knows his role as a backup 5, if that's what they're going with, that's the hope, it can work. If they're trying him next to another non-shooter, then there's going to be issues. I hope that's not the case. He's not, a Hall of Famer like Russ, where you'd have a longer leash with somebody. Ben is, yes, on the buyout market like Russ was, for a reason, but he doesn't have that pedigree. So they shouldn't have to acquiesce or make sure Ben's comfortable above everybody else or take, at that time, Russ took the spot of Terrence Mann in the starting lineup. I don't think he's taking the spot of anyone in the starting lineup. I don't think it's like that. I think there is a very particular set of skills that he has, like Liam Neeson and Taken, that could help this team if they lean in to that stuff, to his playmaking, to his ball handling, to him hopefully dunking, getting layups, not taking any outside jumpers, and just making guys around him better through his passing. Because I think it's really intriguing to have a guy playing the 5 that can bring the ball up and play some point center. And then also you say, well, what does he do without the ball in his hands? Well, if you give it to a guy like that who's in the post or in the high post and he's passing out of it with quick touch passes, he can help kind of keep the offense in motion, even though he's not being aggressive or looking for a shot. He can just be another hub on offense. Things are getting stagnant. Get to Ben. Hopefully he passes someone open. That's what I want to see. No, he's point center. He's playing 5. Well, hopefully. David's trying to correct me, point forward. No. He should be playing small ball 5. That's point center. Yeah. Jose, sorry I didn't get your phone call. We went through all the audio. I know what he said. I asked him a question pregame. I'm excited about the possibility. It's not official. It's being reported. La Murray had it first. I think before Shams. Ben Simmons expected to sign with the Clippers when he clears waivers. I don't see a lot of downside. As long as they don't treat him like some superstar. And they know, hey, if it doesn't work, we could waive him. that should put him on his best behavior, whatever you want to think of locker room stuff. They survived PJ Tucker. I know they just sent him home this year, but last year, well, they also sent him home. It was brief. Last year he was with the team for the majority of the year. It didn't disrupt the vibes. It didn't hurt the locker room. It didn't poison the locker room. This locker room's strong. I went through the Kawhi stuff because of things people were saying, and I did find that quote to be a little bit of an eyebrow raiser. Just a little bit. And so I'm paying attention to it. But there's a lot of factors and variables, and I'm not just going to say, oh, this is it. This is the problem. We've identified it. No. If we get a ton more evidence, then I'll say this could be something. Just paying attention. That's all. I don't want to cause any panic or sound the alarms. Nothing like that. It's just bringing you guys the news. All right. This has been 127 straight days of Clippers talk on the YouTube side. Please subscribe, hit the like button, hit the alarm, hit the notification button. And we also have Clippers Talk OT for these episodes that I do exclusively on YouTube. Well, they're not exclusive anymore. They end up being on Clippers Talk OT on whatever podcast app you use. We have a podcast feed for these episodes now. Started about a week and a half ago. So you can find this show there. If you just want it in audio form, people are asking for it. We got it for you now. Trying to serve the fan base in Clipper Nation. Do things the right way. I know if you're a Russ stan, you probably hate me. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm not going to get into it. Before we get out of here, I do want to remind you that Clipper Stock is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy, that's the easiest way to play fantasy sports, and it's available in over 30 states. All you got to do is pick higher or lower on your favorite player's stats or your least favorite player. If you want to hate and go lower, you can win up to 100 times your money. Make picks, win money. I got a free promo code for you guys that gives new users a free pick and up to $1,000 in bonus cash. The promo code is LAC, and you can find it in the referral link, I should say. Find the promo code LAC and the referral link in the description down below in this very episode. Then you just go to Underdog Fantasy. You see that, oh, okay. On Monday, we got a good one. Minnesota taking on the Cavaliers. Go Cavs. You could help out the Clippers there. But Anthony Edwards, higher or lower than 31.5 points. Donovan Mitchell, higher or lower than 23.5 points. It's that simple. You make your picks there. Make picks, win money. Underdog Fantasy, a sponsor here on Clipper Stock. Till tomorrow, as we take no days off just because the Clippers are off for 3 days. I will miss you guys. Good luck to your Super Bowl teams if you got one. Go Birds. Go Chiefs. I don't know. I don't really care. Go Sports. I just want to see a good game. Both teams play hard. I'm Adam Oslin. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow back here on Clippers Talk. Oh, we got Ricky G coming on. The coach, the OG. Rescheduled, was going to be on Friday. He will be on Monday, tomorrow. Ricky G, one of my favorites. He is opinionated. We'll talk about the trade deadline. We'll talk about a trade being nixed, maybe. The Clippers, the Warriors, his team. We'll give you a big picture view of the Western Conference. And, of course, we'll talk a lot about the Clippers, where they're at, and Ben Simmons. We'll see if that news is made official tomorrow. I'm Adam Oslin. We'll talk to you then.